I would like to move on with some other questions now, and we'll begin with this one with Dan Dirks. With the discourse, the way it's been in the country right now, very partisan politics, we see about it in the news every single day. Bipartisanship, I think, is what Iowans want. How would you work in a bipartisan way if elected? Give us some examples.
Well, there's a lot of Republicans that I don't like. I recognize that there's a lot of Republicans that are for big regulation and big business, because it's only big business that can hire the lawyers and hire how to appease the regulations. I will stand on the founding documents. I know there's Republicans that don't stand on the founding documents. I'm a patriot. I'm a Republican because I'm an American. And I'm going to hold their feet to the fire if they don't stand on the founding documents. I read a lot of history that's more than 10 or 20 years old. I read about the foundation of our nation and the foundation of the Republican Party. And government was initially intended to be a defensive posture. We had the constitutions, and we were to keep a lid on things. Well, men became doers of good, so they thought, and they instituted a lot of unnecessary laws. And then people start looking to the government as the benchmark instead of their own moral compass. They start to look to the government for laws. More laws mean more laws. And I will take the founding documents with me wherever I go, and I won't be afraid to confront Democrats or Republicans.
I think to answer this question, you just have to look at my past record. I have been a county supervisor for the last 5 years. I've worked side by side with 3 Republicans and 2 of us were Democrats. Government was not really a political party was not really a serious issue up there. We passed bills, we looked at things, we worked together, we discussed it, we worked bipartisan across the lines very well. In the past 4 years, I have hosted Steve Kettering, Rod Roberts in Manila and Aspinwall areas, showing that me as a Democrat hosting Republicans for the betterment of our area. I've done this, so I can work side by side in bipartisanship. If there's a good idea that comes across Republican, Democrat, we need to jump on it for our community and do what is right. It's a great thing, and we need to really follow through on this, and our bipartisanship is huge. We need to send more people to Des Moines that has bipartisanship thinking so that we can work across the aisles.
Okay, our next question will go to you, Dan Mullbauer, and it was a pretty blunt question sent in by a listener. It says, what Iowa tax-supported agency would you like to see take a major budget cut?
What tax?
What Iowa tax-supported agency would you like to see take a major budget cut? It's a blunt question.
Yes, it is. I'd have to look them all over and see where you're at. I don't know which one we take a major cut on, because funding, everybody's so used to the sources that we have and the good programs. There's so many good programs out there, and you would have to really decipher through them to see which one is the blunt one that eliminates what they're asking, and that'd be tough to eliminate a total program.
Hawkeye Insurance. Now, I'm not a child hater. I've got 11 of them. So I know that there's children out there that need health care. But I also recognize that when an organization has hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend in advertising, that is unnecessary. And I would cut their advertising budget.
Okay, our next question will go to Dan Dirks. Dan, what would your top priority be if elected?
Jobs, the economy, and out-of-control government spending. Jobs, we need to change legislation to encourage the overachievers to continue to achieve. People that want to work 40-plus hours and they're working by the hour, that 41st hour should be income tax-free. Companies have infrastructure that lays there 168 hours a week, and they want to put that to use. They've got money borrowed against it. Now, they've got orders coming in where they can't afford to hire more people, but if they had a couple people that would work 60 hours, they could fill those orders and they would grow their company, and someday they would get to the point where they could hire more people. Currently, when you try to hire people to work overtime, they recognize the fact that the more they work, the more they pay in income tax, so they don't volunteer for overtime. If overtime was income tax free, you'd have more economic activity. It's the idea of stimulating the economy. It's the government's responsibility to provide an environment where companies can produce income and produce goods that will stimulate the economy. Out of control government spending. You look at a list of things that the government does. Every time the government is involved in a project, everybody seems to tack on extra money. This kind of thinking's got to stop.
My top priorities for our district here at 51 has to be economics. We have to look at jobs and new creations of jobs. We have to look at our schools to make sure that our schools, our public and private schools, are well funded, to make sure that we have the strong education program to go on. We need to look at agriculture in this area. We are an ag community. We need to make sure that our ag stays strong and growing. That is what's keeping our community alive and growing forward. We need to watch out for our senior citizens with health care programs. We need to watch our hospitals, the Carroll Hospital, the Manning Hospital, to make sure that they are up and running and they keep it. That all has to do with our health situations here. Those are the important things that we need. Those are the basic things that we have to watch. Those are the top priorities that we have to have.
Okay, our next question will go to Dan Mulbauer. And if you were to be elected to equally represent all the people of District 51, all minorities and everyone, how will you guarantee that you'll equally represent all of your constituents?
Well, one of the things is, as this summer, as you noted, is I was going door to door, knocking doors. One of the things I always ask the people, what thoughts, what concerns do you have? I want to be in touch. I want to listen to what it is you have to tell me. You can do that through the phone calls, emails, letters. I will respond. I will read what it is you have to write. I want to be in touch. I am your spokesperson for down in Des Moines to do what is right for this community. So those are the things that I would do to help everyone in this community.
It's not very likely I'm going to get everybody's vote. It's possible that a few people won't vote for me. How am I going to represent them? I will represent them by being their access to the process. My cell phone number is on every piece of literature I've ever put out. My website is checked daily. I will communicate with them. We live in a republic that's controlled with a democracy. And a democracy is the majority vote gets the prize. And I'm not saying that I would purposely offend those who don't vote for me or purposely go out of my way to not represent them. I will listen and converse with anybody. Actually, I enjoy conversing with the opposition or with people that have a difficulty in understanding my position on any view. I think this is where real intellectual exercise begins. It's not very likely that we're all going to agree all the time. That's why we have a republic.
Okay, our next question will go to Dan Dirks. First of all, Dan, a problem in all of the states and all of the country is crumbling infrastructure. Iowa certainly has its problems. The DOT wanting more road funds. There's been talk in the past of a gas tax. How would you go about funding infrastructure projects in the future for the state of Iowa?
Well, I would look at the way it's currently being done, and I would look for ways of cutting cost. I don't believe that you can stimulate economic activity by spending more money. I think oftentimes if you lower taxes, you actually increase your revenue because you increase economic activity by lowering taxes. It was tried in the 80s and it worked very well. And I think it should be looked at again.
I think each and every one of us know that our infrastructure is crumbling. And I think it's up to the taxpayers out here to make a strong choice in their situation. Do we want to fix the infrastructure of our state? And do we want to build and go forward with our economy? Or do we want to stay where it's at? And there's a few options that we can look at. One is, and they were talking about it, is a fuel tax. It's been talked about. Another one is one that even Dan Dirks has thought of and is thinking could work, is a percentage at the fuel pumps. That is another good option, but I think we need to keep our minds open and see what solutions we can have, but we need to have better infrastructure. If we want our economy to continue to grow forward, we need to build our better roads and have things moving.